Hyped manga adaptations are often a curse. The swap between mediums is significantly harder than anyone is really willing to admit, and that's before you add in the weight of expectations. Crushing expectations, the weight of thousands or millions of people's dreams of what they thought their favorite manga would look like when it was finally animated. If asked, the average manga fan would probably say they just want a good anime adaptation. But what does that mean? Fandoms as a whole very rarely know what they actually want, and there are a few examples of that better than adaptation discourse. Should a show cut content? Should it animate scenes panel for panel? Is it free to add entirely new beats to the story? Do I suddenly conveniently care about color palettes? All these questions, and more, unfortunately have a very specific answer. It depends. I firmly believe an adaptation should use the strengths of its new medium and have a unique creative vision, but even that blanket statement is not foolproof. A vision should still respect the intent of the original story, if possible, and also try to do something new with the material, if possible. And now you see why these conversations are impossible to have online. It's an exhausting discussion that can just crush an anime before it's even able to get off the ground, or just make discussing it intolerable. And God forbid the adaptation is actually bad, then you're just added to the wall of shame. But sometimes you can tell that a show is just got it, that it's got its vision, that it will rise above these frustrating discussions and provide not just a quality adaptation, but an additive experience. You can pretty quickly tell if a show has the sauce, and oh boy, does Dandadan have it.
That's what has me feeling really nicey.
In the last couple of years, Dandadan has quickly become the new It manga, replacing Chainsaw Man after it graduated to mainstream status with a non-controversial good anime. Dandadan has been the crazy manga you just have to read for long enough now that if you're in the core audience of this video, you would probably already heard of it when the anime got announced. However, we do have to admit that that effect is a bit overblown. It might have felt inescapable in our smaller online communities, but there's no contest between manga some YouTubers like and more mainstream anime fans. The type of people rolling up to Netflix to check out exactly one new show a season. So right off the bat, what's shocked me the most about Dandadan's anime is how quickly that broader audience has immediately bought in. How instantly the charm of its characters and the quirks of its story has grabbed the masses. If the series felt inescapable when it was just the manga heralds discussing it, I don't know if there's a proper word for how it feels now. Not since JJK Season 2 have I actively had to avoid all socials on airing date to dodge this many spoilers. Roughly half of the reels I see on Instagram are using the opening song. The people already love Dandadan, deservedly so, because it really has been that good. I am not the first, and I will not be the last to say this, but yes, the romance is great and a fresh angle to help spice up a battle shonen story. And I say battle here because that's what's been the most standout so far, but the romance portions do still move the plot along. It's not a battle show that just sticks in obligatory romance tropes, it is dedicated to its core romantic identity. So while I'm not going to sit here and call it a blue box type pure romance, it does lean more towards a hybrid classification. I think this is where I'm supposed to make a joke about Yukinobu Tatsu reading all that shoujo romance manga. I appreciate the story's ability to tightrope walk its emotional beats in the valley of wacky comedy, and even wackier, well, everything. A core tenet of this show is getting back the main character's balls, for God's sake. The fact that any sincere moment is able to land with weight is an actual miracle. Before I started the series, I was genuinely worried about the premise, about how wacky I had heard the story was. Sure, it sounded like a goofy fun time, but when it came time to tell whatever story it wanted to tell, was that going to get in the way? Thankfully, my concerns were unfounded. Once you've been locked into the premise, once you've accepted it as a thing that is happening, the story doesn't lean on it too much. It doesn't keep looking into the camera and going, funny ball joke, huh? Any actual jokes are seamless character moments and honestly, at this point, rarely devolve into low-hanging fruit. They're not just used to flip scenes on their head, and the natural aura of Cat Turbo Granny is enough to land a joke whenever one might be needed. And when it's not, the story consistently commits to driving its emotion directly into your soul. I mentioned that I considered Dandadan a battle romance hybrid earlier, so how's the battle portion of that? Well, would you believe me if I said that it was also really good? People will tell you a lot of different things are the most important aspect that makes a battle shonen good. Power scaling, fight choreography, pacing, whatever else the shonen you like is good at. And while many of those can be important tenets, I think it misses the number one thing. Does it look cool? If a shonen is cool, it can cover up so many deficiencies you would not believe. You guys know what's cool. Going really fast. Dandadan's style just kind of lends itself to being cool, because I think it's impossible to look at this guy and not be like, yeah, okay, sign me up. The transformations are great and are really the backbone of the coolness factor, but the powers are no slouch. Moving faster than sound or so fast that eyes can't follow will forever be peak cool and are only beaten out when combined with lightning. I just love the look of all the characters. Obviously transformed Okarun is fantastic, but Momo's Gyaro design and personality is such a huge boon to this series, it's ridiculous. I cannot wait to see how many cosplayers she has at AX next year. She is a star and is going to stick around even after the anime finishes airing. Seiko's design is pretty good too. But what would designs be without interesting characters? Rent-A-Girlfriend. Even without a full roster yet, the core cast is wonderful. They all play off each other really well. Obviously Momo and Okarun have the whole argumentative crush thing going on, but the relationship she has with her grandmother is equally as fun, and doubly so when Turbo Granny is involved. The banter is just really good, and is where most of the show's natural comedy comes from. Of course, they're not just here for comedy. I'm already in love with Okarun's quest to become stronger and more assertive, not just while fighting, but at school too. The absolute pureness of him being so excited about having a real friend that the fact that he thinks Momo is cute doesn't even dawn on him is the moment I decided I would die for him. Momo learning to no longer hate her grandmother and apologize for what she said in the past is the story's first real big emotional body blow, and I'm very excited to see where her journey with the occult takes her. The show's got me so good, I'm even sitting here like, I really like Momo's friends. They're fun. But I am excited to see more of the actual side characters, Ira and Gigi, as we build out the rest of the cast. And a lot of that will be fleshing out the fights. The fights are snappy and compelling already, but more variety and more powers are always welcome. It hasn't really been a problem in Battle Shonen as a whole for a while now, but Dandadan avoids a lot of that trademark bloat in and around fights. It's not villain of the week, but so far most fights have lasted less than an episode, or if they stretch out like the Turbo Granny opening arc, they're multiple bespoke encounters. So all we're missing is a few more cool powers and awesome designs to contend with what is kind of limitless potential for villains. By pulling from both spirits and aliens, the story can put the fights in any location with any rule set and any powers. It's already building up a nice catalog in that regard, and I imagine it will escalate from here. My only real question is what's next? Is there a central villain? Are the balls going to get stolen again? Lots of places this story can and I'm sure will go, and I'm just here for the ride. But all of that is stuff that is core to the manga, so if you're looking for why the anime has taken that next step, well, then say hello to Science Saru. As a certified Yuasa enjoyer, Science Saru is in that group of studios for me where I have complete trust in whatever they're going to make. Production-wise, at least. And I think it's easy to look at the high quality of this adaptation and go, well, the animation is better. And yes, that's true, the scene-by-scene animation is quite good and the fight scenes have impact and fluidity. But that's almost reductive in its appreciation for this production, as the real keys are the direction and cohesive artistic style. The reason why everyone loves this adaptation is because director Fugayama Shiro and Science Saru were able to capture the essence of the series on the screen. It looks like how reading it feels. It's colorful in the right amounts, it's bombastic in the right places, and then you have the incredible individual cuts of animation that elevate that material and are accent points on this vision. Some of the directorial choices during episode 7's flashback sequence had me in awe, and in desperate need of a new replay value video to break it all down. The work this team has put into bringing these characters to life has not gone unnoticed, and is a huge reason the series is as well received as it is. That and Creepy Nuts. Adapting a popular manga is not easy, and adapting one with this level of style and substance is exponentially more difficult. They've knocked it out of the park so far, and I cannot wait to see what they have in store to finish out the season. I have not read much of Dandadan, so maybe all this is completely off base and the silent majority of manga readers are deeply upset. But I'm going to hope that's not the case. Because the anime has done what any good anime should do. It made me fall in love with this story and its characters. After years of being told how great Dandadan is and how it needs to be experienced, I gotta admit, you guys were right.